This town doesn't give up its secrets very easy, and I'd warn people too. Now we're getting a hold of this stuff. What happened the last 4 years under the Biden administration? Senator Dick Durbin blocked my Senator Marsha Blackburn, who valiantly fought to get those records out and acted pretty much like there wasn't anything, and the media backed him up on it. And now all of a sudden the media thinks they've got something, and it's leveled towards Trump.
That's Congressman Tim Burchett lighting up Democrats and the hacks in establishment media for suddenly pretending they care about Epstein after they covered for years and did absolutely nothing. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the Epstein Hypocrisy tour is in full swing this week, because now that President Trump is actually doing something about Epstein's records, suddenly the same Democrats who ignored this for 4 years are acting like crusaders for justice. Here's Tim Burchett going after Amy Klobuchar and laying out just how desperate this all looks.
So the president blaming Democrats for this disaster, Jake, is like that CEO that got caught on camera blaming Coldplay, okay? Like, this is his making.
I think Senator Klobuchar, as she likes to say, as a former prosecutor, where the heck was she the last 4 years? Dick Durbin, and you're correct, he did effectively try to and did block my Senator Blackburn from getting those files released. And it's clear what the Democrats are up to. They're tanking. The country knows it. Where the heck have they been the last 4 years? I'm ticked off at everybody. Look, this thing should have been handled. Now we're at the point they're going to start dumping files. And my biggest fear in this, Jake, you got 1,000 children that were abused by this dirtbag who's burning in hell right now, and he should be. And yet the American public's all pointing the finger, trying to play politics with this thing, and it's not accurate. I applaud the president for wanting to release those files. I think it's a good start. I think we, they keep saying he talked about it repeatedly, and that's just not accurate. He was asked 2 different times during the campaign about it, and he said, sure, we're going to release them. He also said he's going to release the UFO files and the Kennedy files, and we're still working on all that because it is a dadgum process. For Dick Durbin to start making his point now, I think that you all in the media should bust his tail for that, because that is very disingenuous, and that is clearly a cover-up by the Democrat Party.
There's a divide on this issue, and I get it. Some people want everything released right now. Full transparency, no redactions, no filters. And that's a fair position, but it's also a leap to assume that Trump holding back some files for now is some kind of indictment on him. Burchett lays it out clearly. If Democrats had real dirt on Trump in those files, we'd have seen it on day one of Biden's DOJ. They had control of the system, and they used it for everything else. I mean, they ran years of investigations, leaks, and fake headlines. Why not this? And now those same people are pretending to care because the Russiagate story is circling back and they need a new distraction. Trump's already said he knew Epstein. He flew on the plane. None of that's hidden. Here's Bernie Morin with a reminder that if the Democrats really had something, it would have already been used.
This post by the president tonight about pertinent grand jury information, do you think that's going to be sufficient for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, President Trump has been very clear. The Democrats would have weaponized this against him for years if this was anything to do with President Trump. But here's the reality. Here's a sad reality, honestly, is that the Democrats, with the media, have tried to change the topic.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex, or close there too, in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
My own poll on Pam Bondi showed a real split, and it's clear people are passionate about getting full disclosure. That's fair, but there's also a difference between wanting more and pretending nothing was done. Trump just authorized the release of the grand jury files, something Biden's DOJ had years to do and didn't. CNN's coverage basically turns into a therapy session once they realize it's not hurting Trump the way they hoped, and that's also a pretty big tell. I mean, Morin's right right to point out that there are people who will never be satisfied with this. However, it's clear that the optics on this weren't the best, and Democrats and the media are more than willing to try and leverage that to their advantage. It's not about justice, it's about control. But the fact that Trump's numbers are still climbing, that tells you regular people see the political timing here. They know who sat on this case for years. The disappointment from the left is saying the quiet part out loud.
You are obviously one of those people who wants this released. What's your reaction to how President Trump has handled it?
It's his strategy. You know, everybody questions President Trump's strategy. They said the big, beautiful bill wasn't going to get out on the 4th of July. Trump comes out and says, I don't care when you put it out. I said, I don't care if you put it out on July 40th, get the bill out. I just want it out. And what happened? Dadgum, we passed it on the 4th of July. His cryptocurrency bill. So, you know, I think to underestimate Donald J. Trump is a mistake in this town, and I think we're learning that. And I you know, that's his strategy. Was I a little ticked off he said that stuff? Sure I was, but I'm a big boy, man. We're playing in the big leagues right now, and you know, I get criticized every day. I get death threats on a pretty regular basis, so my skin's about that thick right now. I think I could take a little criticism.
You know, this part matters because it shows the MAGA movement isn't a monolith. People want the truth. Some want everything unsealed right now. Others trust that Trump and Bondi have a plan. And that tension, it's actually a sign of strength. But even Burchett, who's been pushing hard for full disclosure, recognizes that the grand jury files are a huge win, and more could still come. This is what accountability looks like. Disagreement without disloyalty, and it drives the media nuts. Because deep down they know if they had the goods on Trump, they'd have used them already. But let me know what you think. Is Trump's grand jury release enough for you, or do you still want full disclosure across the board? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.